Stevie's been riled up by a few things today. He's trying to rile me up now about my Middlesbrough.
Just got to you there.
Not making it to the playoff final.
He's pinched a nerve.
Yeah. You can't always get what you want. That's true. All right. Would this City side be able to stop Sevilla in the Europa League? Stevie?
Yeah. I still can't believe Sevilla are in the final. I mean, at half-time at Old Trafford, I'm thinking, my goodness, how's this team won 6 previous Europa Leagues? And then look at us, look at them now, absolutely flying, deserving to win. Unfortunately, though, I think I would back City.
Okay. Robbo?
Absolutely, yes. The manager's done a good job since he's been in charge, but City would win this quite comfortably. Sevilla have got some decent players. The manager's done a decent job. They've got the crowd right behind them. They have a belief that they can win the Europa League, but not good enough.
Gab?
Look, I know it's a cliche, but 90 minutes of football, anything can happen. It's easy to forget. Manchester City may be the best team in the world. They may win the treble, but they played 35 games in the Premier League this season. And guess what? Did they win 35 out of 35? 34 to 35? No. They won 27 out of those 35 games. And many of them were against, that they didn't win, were against teams that are probably worse than Sevilla. So, take that into account when making predictions for finals. You still have to go out and play them and win them. But
you know what I love about
they would
you
be
guys?
overwhelming favorites.
I love that you guys take these questions from our viewers very seriously. It's fantastic to see. Okay, for all.
Descending one?
No! I didn't mean it to be.
Well, it came across like that.
I didn't mean it to be. For all, how well do you think Newcastle will do next season, given the fact they'll have Champions League games to also play? Can they repeat top 4, or do you think they'll struggle? Robbo?
I think they've got a system that they like playing. They've got some very good players. They've got a manager that the fans adore at the moment. They play some good football. They're going to probably get some more players in the summer because they've got lots of money from their owners. So I think they can do well next season. I think they'll do okay in the Champions League, and I think they'll get into they'll be challenging for the top 4. They'll be 4th or 5th next season, I would imagine. They're a good side, a good club, and they've got everything going for them at the moment.
Okay, Gab, Leverkusen outshot Roma 21-1. Oh, no, actually, were the guys ever in such a dominant game, whether on the winning or losing side? Actually, let me put that to you then, Stevie.
I had a game when I was coaching when I came to the US. I used to coach a team called the Boston Bulldogs. And we played the semi-final of our cup in Boston. Can't remember the name of the team. And I don't know the actual numbers, but I'm going to guess that we may have had 40 shots at goal, maybe 20 on target. Goalie stood on his head and we lost 1-0. We got a penalty kick with 5 minutes to go. I still remember it. I can still see it in my head. It's the most incredible. I still can't believe it happened. I swear we must have had 40 shots and at least 20 of them were on target. And the goalie stood in his head. Somebody would get their face in the way, would get ourselves in the way, and they got a penalty with 5 minutes to go and we got beat.
Did it ever happen when you were playing in European football?
No.
No, that wouldn't have happened.
No, I don't remember that.
Robbo?
Well, I'll go the other way. I was a coach of Wimbledon and we played Fulham, who were then top and by far and away the best side in the Championship. John Tigana was the manager. Louis Sahar was playing up front for them with Hales. They were a really top side. I think they only lost 2 games that season. We played them 2 games from the end of the season. And they completely outplayed us. They passed us off the field. They were more athletic than our players. They were better tactically. And we got a 1-1 draw and the players came off and decided, what a great result that was. And the manager and myself looked at each other and said, we've got to change things here. This can't happen. We can never be outplayed by that amount of ability that Fulham had on that day. It was incredible. They probably had about 25 shots. We had 1 shot and it was a 1-1 draw and we were so lucky.
It's a funny old game. Okay, in your time following Madrid, is that the biggest thumping or golfing clash you've seen with Madrid? Or are we going back to Mourinho early days against Barcelona? I can go further back than that. I was there for the 6-2 at the Bernabeu, the famous 6-2 in 2009.
Who was playing?
Henry, Messi, it was shocking. I think we went out and, you know, just tried to not even think of what was going to come the next day at work because they always didn't want to talk about a loss the next day and we had to make it all happy. Yeah, and also I was there for the 5-0 at the Camp Nou when Mourinho first started out and it was raining and I didn't have my umbrella.
Oh.
But the end of that season ended a lot better for Mourinho. But I was there for the start of that season. They won the Copa del Rey final at the end of the season against Barcelona in Mestalla. But yes, I have seen big thumpings like this.
Nope.
Bigger thumpings against that Barcelona side back then. All right, next season, Gab, instead of Mbappe, should Real Madrid look to strengthen their defence by signing 2 fullbacks and Bellingham? Since Carvajal is past his prime and Camavinga has to be played in his CM position ASAP.
I mean, I think everybody's taking for granted that Ferland Mendy is going to move on. Again, I think these are the big questions that you ask yourself in terms of transition. If Kroos and Modric stick around, you have Tchouaméni, you have Valverde, you have, I thought Dani Ceballos, when he played this year, was really, really good. He can be part of the rotation. Do you then need to spend a lot of money on a left back, or can you muddle through with some Camavinga at left back for another season, and then maybe let the manager who's going to replace Ancelotti a year from now, let him choose the long-term solution at left back. But yeah, obviously both positions I think need to be upgraded going forward. Whether that's more of a priority than making sure that Mariano Diaz never has significant playing time for Real Madrid ever again, I'm not so sure. I would definitely be looking to get a striker. I don't know. Bring back Borja Mayoral. Anybody but Mariano to back up Karim.
Gab, can I ask you a question? Because you know Ancelotti better than anybody, right? Or any of us. Surely this decision about Brazil or to stay at Real Madrid, surely that's his decision. I mean, he's at a stage of his life and his career that if he wants to go and manage Brazil, surely he can turn around to the president, who, by the way, doesn't seem as though he's overly concerned whether he stays or goes. Why can he not just turn around and say, as he did at Everton, turned to Everton and said, look, I want to go and manage Real Madrid. Why can't he say, look, thanks Real Madrid, we've both done well, but I'd like to go manage Brazil, so thank you very much. Would Ancelotti, is that surely not how Ancelotti sees it?
I think that's part of how he sees it. I think the reality is he's got a year left on his contract. The Brazilian FA, can't pay Real Madrid compensation, won't pay Real Madrid compensation. I think he is genuinely attached to Real Madrid and to the players there. And so I think that's why he's okay, at least for now, at least outwardly, leaving the decision to Florentino. If Florentino says what some people have speculated, I mean, Alex alluded to it on the show, let's just make some minor tweaks, bring in one superstar like Bellingham, maybe a couple other players for depth, and let's have another go. And then a year from now, that's when we bring in Mbappe and Haaland and whoever else. And Carlo, can you manage that transition again for another season? I think he's going to find it very, very difficult to say no or to try to, force the club to release him from his contract.
Yeah, that's got you a bit baffled, that situation, hasn't it?
No, I just, again, he's managed Real Madrid. He's done everything at Real Madrid. To have the opportunity now, particularly with the players that Brazil has.
But maybe, given his history with Real Madrid, he also doesn't want to leave them in the lurch right now.
Well, he had no problem leaving Everton.
Well, there's a bit of a difference, isn't there?
Well, I don't know. If you ask Evertonians, they might not agree.
Maybe not. OK, the cutting's edge. Hi, Kay, and commiserations on the playoffs. Thank you.
Oh, do you mean Middlesbrough getting beat?
Yes. To the best fullback in my time, Mr. Nicol. Would a move to right back for Fabinho and bringing in a new CDM be a good move? I hope Ramsey gets a run as he looks a player.
No, I wouldn't move Fabinho to right back, but on the other hand, if they could get a proper right back who can go forward as well, then shift Trent into the middle of the park. I just find I find it incredible that. Well, I understand that for the rest of this year he's moved Trent and done a pet situation, moving him into the middle of the field when they've got the ball, but he's kind of still got a job to do defensively. I can't imagine they do the same next year. I just can't imagine it because the defence can't cope without another defender. They can't. They've shown they can't. So I just don't see it. And Fabinho's not the answer. Somebody like Kyle Walker would be ideal. Somebody who can actually defend, but who can go forward a little bit and would just solidify everything. Because that's what Liverpool need. Because again, as much as Trent Alexander-Arnold has done well when he's moved into the middle of the park and he's played all these lovely balls and all the rest of it, Liverpool can't stop anybody from getting at them. They're still giving opportunities to teams. They might be on a 7 or 8 game winning streak, whatever it is, but I'll tell you what, they could have lost a lot more goals than they have. So that hasn't Trent being brilliant in the middle of the park hasn't changed defensively how they've kind of gotten away with it, in my opinion.
What do you think, Robbo? A bit of switching around next season?
Yeah, just on Trent Alexander-Arnold, you know, we've seen, I think it's Lewis that's done it for Man City. We've seen other players do it for Man City that come in from the wide. Zinchenko does it from the other side for Arsenal. And I can understand Trent Alexander-Arnold coming in field and getting on the ball and being the spare player and picking out passes. But you still have to have a defensive understanding. And Trent Alexander-Arnold hasn't got a defensive understanding. His recovery runs are usually in the wrong channels. He doesn't recover with enough pace at times. He doesn't see the danger. So you can't just say, there's a midfield player and he goes back to right back when the opposition get the ball and then he goes back into central midfield. You have to be a very clever and a very good defender to be able to do that. And if he is going to do that, they need somebody on the right-hand side of the two centre-halves who's very, very quick and a very good 1v1 defender. And that's not been the case at Liverpool. So there needs to be a slight change. And I think Klopp knows that Alexander-Arnold isn't a good defender, but he doesn't want to admit it. You know, and that's a big worry for Liverpool.
All right, last question from your mint stealer, Stevie. Given the Ivan Toney ban, I'm wondering how widespread betting was when you played. Is it still prevalent?
Listen, guys used to sit in the dressing room before the game wanting the team talk over with so they could run through to either put their bets on or see what was going on if games were actually being played at the time. I mean, we all used to do it. Used to bet on games all the time. Get your trebles and your doubles, and I mean, it was just normal. That's what a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of guys did it.
So it's widespread.
Yeah, but it kind of insinuates that there's something nefarious going on, whereas it was just a bit of fun to get a couple of quid on and have a little bit of fun.
Gab, did you just make a noise then?
No, I think part of the reason people view it as nefarious is that, you know, we're not talking about rigging games, is that if you're a professional football player, you're going to have access to information just through chat, just through knowing people that the average punter isn't going to have. And the bookmakers aren't going to have, because you've got friends, international teammates, blah, 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 people talk. I'm sure back then you were all messaging each other on your mobile phones, you're sending WhatsApps and Snapchats to each other.
Pigeons.
And so,
like pigeons, Gal.
But joking aside, I think that is a little bit the risk today, because, you know, back then, presumably you had to physically go into a bookmaker and they're like, oh, look, there's that Stevie Nicol coming in, blah, blah, blah. I think today when, you know, a professional athlete, A, he's got access to all this other information through these other messaging apps and stuff with other players, and B, he could do it on his phone in 10 seconds. And I think that puts it in a very, very different light in terms of temptation, in terms of you get yourself in a hole It's more of a solitary activity. And I think that's why people are so concerned about this, you know, more so than people going and fixing games so they can win bets, because, you know, I think they're generally pretty good at patrolling that.
Here's the thing though as well. Ivan Toney has to be really, really stupid, because as much as we're laughing about back in my day, it was allowed. You know it's not allowed. You're told it's not allowed. And when I say not allowed, it's do not put anything on anything to do with football. I mean, it's not something that, oh, Ivan Toney's going to go to the judge and say, well, nobody told me. I mean, it's crazy that he's done it. It's just such a stupid thing to do. And to miss 8 months of the season. I mean, the guy's flying right now. You talk about stupidity. I mean, it really is stupid.
I bet Robbo never did it.
Do you know what? I have never, ever had a bet in my life. I've never been into a bookies. But what I did know, and I did hear when I was playing, that the Newcastle players, I think it was in the 80s at some point, all had a bet on Stevie Nicol scoring a hat-trick against them. And that's why it was made so easy for him.
Hey, I wish they'd told me. I'd have put money on it and all.
Oh, that will do it for the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. I kind of think so, yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.